Assalamu alaikum. Have you ever raised your hands in the darkness of the night and wondered if your words were reaching the heavens? Have you ever made the same dua so many times that you began to feel tired, discouraged, or even forgotten? If so, this reminder is for you. There are people listening to this right now who have been praying for years. Some are asking for healing, some are asking for guidance, some are asking for a righteous spouse, a child, financial relief, peace of mind, or the return of happiness to their hearts. Yet despite all those prayers, the situation may seem unchanged. But remember this, the delay of an answer does not mean the absence of Allah's attention. The one who created you, who knows every tear that falls from your eyes and every worry hidden in your chest, is fully aware of what you are going through. Sometimes Allah delays what we ask for because He is preparing something greater. Sometimes He changes us before He changes our circumstances. And sometimes the very act of making dua is the blessing itself, because it keeps us connected to the one who controls all things. Never underestimate the power of a sincere prayer. A dua can change destinies, soften hearts, open doors that seemed permanently closed, and bring solutions from places you never expected. The believer understands that every whispered prayer is heard, every tear is counted, and every moment of patience is rewarded. So if you feel like giving up, if you feel like your voice is unheard, hold on a little longer. Continue asking, continue trusting, and continue hoping, because Allah is listening, and His timing is always perfect. One of the greatest comforts a believer can hold on to is the certainty that Allah hears every sincere dua. This is not merely a hopeful thought, it is a reality rooted in faith. When a person raises their hands and calls upon Allah, they are speaking to the one who created the heavens and the earth, the one who knows what is hidden and what is apparent, the one who understands every feeling that cannot be expressed in words. Sometimes people think that because they cannot see immediate results, their dua is somehow being ignored. But Allah's hearing is not dependent on our ability to see an instant answer. He hears every word, every whisper, every cry, and even the prayers that remain trapped within our hearts. There are moments in life when a person feels completely alone. Perhaps everyone around them has moved on. Perhaps they have shared their struggles with people who fail to understand. Or perhaps they are carrying a burden so personal that they cannot even bring themselves to talk about it. In those moments, dua becomes a lifeline. It becomes a private conversation between the servant and the Creator. What makes this connection so beautiful is that Allah never becomes tired of listening. Human beings may become exhausted by repeated complaints, but Allah invites us to keep calling upon Him again and again. Every time we turn to Him, we are welcomed by His mercy. Many people experience seasons of waiting. They make dua for a job, for marriage, for healing, for financial stability, or for relief from anxiety and hardship. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and sometimes months into years. During that waiting period, doubts may begin to creep into the heart. A person may wonder why the answer has not arrived yet. They may compare their lives to others and feel that everyone else is receiving blessings while they remain stuck in the same situation. Yet faith teaches us that Allah sees a much bigger picture than we do. We see today, but Allah sees tomorrow. We see a single chapter, but Allah sees the entire story. Imagine a child asking for something that appears good from their perspective. The child may not understand the consequences attached to it, but a loving parent sees beyond what the child can see. In a far greater and more perfect way, Allah knows what is beneficial for us and what may harm us. There are times when we ask for something, believing it will bring happiness, while Allah knows that receiving it at that moment would bring difficulty instead. There are also times when Allah delays a blessing because He wants us to grow through patience, trust, and reliance upon Him. The delay is not a punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. The beautiful thing about sincere dua is that it changes the person making it. Even before circumstances begin to change, the heart starts to transform. A person who regularly turns to Allah develops a deeper sense of trust. They begin to understand that their strength does not come from their own abilities alone, but from their connection with their Creator. They become more aware of Allah's presence in their life. They start noticing blessings they once overlooked. They find themselves becoming stronger, wiser, and more patient. There are stories throughout life where people reached a point of complete desperation, believing there was no way forward, only to witness Allah opening doors they never imagined possible. Sometimes the answer comes from a direction they never expected. Sometimes it arrives at a time when they had almost lost hope. Looking back, they realize that every delay had a purpose. Every unanswered moment was leading them towards something greater. What they once considered a setback was actually protection. What they thought was silence was actually Allah's wisdom at work. This is why a believer continues making dua even when circumstances appear unchanged. They understand that every prayer is valuable. No sincere call upon Allah is wasted. Even when the answer is not visible, something is happening. Allah is listening. Allah is responding in ways that may not yet be apparent. Sometimes the answer comes exactly as requested. Sometimes Allah replaces it with something better. Sometimes He removes a difficulty that the person never even knew was approaching. His wisdom operates beyond the limits of human understanding. Think about the countless times in your life when things eventually worked out in a way you could never have planned yourself. At the moment of hardship, you may have felt confused and overwhelmed. Yet later, when the picture became clearer, you saw wisdom in what had happened. This realization should strengthen our confidence when we make dua today. If Allah guided us through past challenges, He will guide us through present ones as well. If He cared for us yesterday, He will care for us tomorrow. Every tear shed in prayer matters. Every moment spent asking Allah matters. Every sincere plea matters. Even when no one else understands the depth of your pain, Allah understands it completely. He knows what keeps you awake at night. He knows the fears you hide behind your smile. He knows the dreams you carry within your heart. He knows the prayers you have repeated countless times. Nothing escapes His knowledge, and nothing is too difficult for Him. When a believer truly understands this reality, dua becomes more than a request. It becomes an act of worship, an expression of love, trust, and dependence upon Allah. The believer continues calling upon Him, not only because they seek an answer, but because they recognize that there is peace in being close to Him. There is comfort in knowing that the Lord of the worlds is listening to every word, every hope, and every prayer that rises from a sincere heart. Tupil sense in dua is one of the most beautiful signs of genuine faith. It reflects a heart that refuses to lose hope in Allah, no matter how difficult life becomes. Anyone can make a dua when things are going well, but it takes real trust to continue making the same dua when days, months, or even years pass without seeing the answer. That persistence is not weakness. It is not desperation in the negative sense. It is actually a powerful declaration that a believer knows where true help comes from. It is a statement that says, I know my Lord is capable of changing my situation, and I will continue turning to Him regardless of what I see around me. Many people mistakenly think that repeated dua means their previous prayers were not heard. In reality, constantly returning to Allah is an act that He loves. Imagine having access to the King of all kings at any moment, without appointments, without barriers, and without restrictions. Allah allows us to call upon Him whenever we want. Whether it is during the quiet hours of the night, after prayer while traveling, or in moments of deep emotion, His door remains open. The believer who understands this blessing does not become tired of asking, because they know they are speaking to the one whose treasures never decrease and whose mercy has no limits. Life often tests our patience. There are situations that seem impossible to change. A person may be searching for employment for a long time. Another may be praying for a righteous spouse. Someone else may be struggling with an illness that has lasted for years. There are people carrying emotional wounds that nobody knows about. They continue smiling in front of others while silently fighting battles within themselves. During these moments, the temptation to give up can become very strong. A person may begin to wonder whether their prayers are making any difference at all. Yet, this is often where faith is truly tested. Hope in Allah is different from ordinary optimism. Ordinary optimism depends on visible signs and favorable circumstances. Hope in Allah remains alive, even when circumstances appear impossible. This is because the believer knows that Allah is not limited by what seems achievable according to human standards. What appears impossible to people is effortless for Him. He can create opportunities where there were none. He can bring ease after years of hardship. He can transform lives in ways that leave people amazed. The believer understands that the power of Allah is greater than any obstacle standing in front of them. Sometimes the greatest challenge is not the hardship itself, but maintaining hope while waiting. Waiting can be painful. It can feel lonely. It can make a person question whether they are moving forward at all. Yet there is wisdom in those periods of waiting. During them, Allah teaches us lessons that immediate success could never teach. He teaches patience, humility, gratitude, and reliance upon Him. He teaches us to separate our hearts from complete dependence on worldly things and to place our trust in Him alone. These lessons often become some of the most valuable gifts a believer receives. Think about how many times people only turn sincerely to Allah when they are facing difficulty. During hardship, prayers become more heartfelt. The heart becomes softer. A person becomes more aware of their need for Allah. Through continuous dua, a relationship develops between the servant and the Creator. That relationship is precious. It brings comfort that no worldly possession can provide. Even if the answer has not yet arrived, the person gains something incredibly valuable: closeness to Allah. There are countless stories of people who almost gave up right before relief arrived. They reached a point where they felt exhausted from waiting. They believed nothing would change. Then suddenly Allah opened a door they never expected. A phone call came. An opportunity appeared. A solution emerged. Their circumstances shifted in ways they could never have planned themselves. Looking back, they realized that if they had stopped making dua, they might have missed the blessing that was already on its way. The believer understands that every sincere dua has value, even when the outcome is not immediately visible. Allah never ignores the prayers of His servants. Sometimes He grants exactly what is requested. Sometimes He delays it until the perfect time. Sometimes He gives something better than what was asked for. Sometimes He protects a person from harm through the very dua they made. Because Allah's knowledge is complete while ours is limited, we trust His decisions even when we do not fully understand them. This trust does not mean a person never feels sadness or frustration. Believers are human. They experience disappointment and pain like everyone else. They may cry. They may feel tired. They may struggle with uncertainty. But despite all of that, they continue returning to Allah. They continue raising their hands. They continue asking. Their faith allows them to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. Every time you make dua, you are acknowledging that Allah is your source of strength. You are reminding yourself that your future is not controlled by people's circumstances or statistics. It is controlled by the one who created everything. That realization fills the heart with peace. It gives a person the courage to keep going when others would quit. It provides light during dark moments and reassurance during difficult times. There is something deeply beautiful about a believer who refuses to stop making dua. Even after facing setbacks, they continue asking. Even after experiencing delays, they continue hoping. Even after encountering disappointment, they continue trusting. Their persistence is evidence of a heart that knows Allah's mercy is greater than any hardship. It is evidence of a faith that remains alive regardless of circumstances. It is evidence of a hope that cannot be extinguished, because it is rooted in the certainty that Allah hears every prayer and knows exactly what His servant needs. One of the most powerful realities a believer can hold on to is that Allah's timing is always perfect, even when it feels difficult to understand. Human beings naturally want answers immediately. We live in a world where we expect quick results. When we make a dua, We often hope to see a change right away. We ask Allah for something, and then we look around for signs that it is happening. But faith teaches us that Allah's wisdom operates far beyond our limited understanding of time. What feels like a delay to us may actually be the perfect moment according to Allah's knowledge. Many of us have experienced moments when we desperately wanted something to happen. We prayed for it, planned for it, and imagined how wonderful life would be if it came true. Yet, despite all our efforts and prayers, nothing seemed to change. At first, this can be discouraging. A person may begin questioning why the answer has not arrived. They may wonder whether they are doing something wrong or whether their dua is not good enough. However, what we often fail to realize is that Allah sees what we cannot see. He knows what lies ahead. He knows what is beneficial for us today, tomorrow, and years from now. There are blessings that arrive too early and become a test instead of a gift. There are opportunities that seem perfect from our perspective but carry difficulties we are completely unaware of. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, protects us from things we do not even recognize as harmful. Sometimes we are asking for a specific door to open, while Allah is preparing a much better door somewhere else. If that first door had opened, we might never have received the greater blessing waiting ahead. Think about the experiences you've had in your own life. There were likely moments when something did not work out the way you wanted. At the time, you may have felt disappointed or even heartbroken. You may have wondered why Allah allowed things to happen that way. Then months or years later, you looked back and understood. You realized that what seemed like a loss was actually protection. What seemed like rejection was actually guidance. What seemed like a delay was preparing you for something far better than you originally imagined. Allah's wisdom often becomes clear only after time has passed. This is why believers are encouraged to trust Him, even when they cannot understand His plan. Trust is easiest when everything is going well, but true trust is revealed during uncertainty. It is revealed when a person continues making dua despite not seeing immediate results. It is revealed when someone keeps believing in Allah's mercy, while facing challenges that seem impossible to overcome. The beautiful thing about waiting upon Allah is that the waiting itself is never wasted. While we are focused on receiving the answer, Allah may be working on our hearts. He may be teaching us patience, strengthening our character, increasing our faith, or preparing us for responsibilities that come with the blessing we seek. We often think the goal is simply to receive what we asked for, but Allah is concerned with who we become throughout the journey. Consider how a seed grows beneath the soil. For a long time, nothing appears to be happening on the surface. If someone looked only with their eyes, they might assume the seed is doing nothing. Yet beneath the ground, roots are developing, strength is forming, preparation is taking place. Then eventually the growth becomes visible. In many ways, dua works similarly. There are moments when we see no visible changes, but Allah is arranging matters in ways beyond our understanding. What appears silent may actually be a period of preparation. A believer who understands this becomes less focused on controlling every outcome and more focused on maintaining trust in Allah. They continue making dua, not because they know when the answer will arrive, but because they know who is listening. They understand that Allah's knowledge encompasses everything. They realize that their responsibility is to keep asking, keep trusting, and keep moving forward with hope. Sometimes Allah answers a dua in a way that exceeds all expectations. A person asks for one thing and receives something even better. They ask for relief from a specific problem and discover opportunities they never imagined. They pray for a closed door to open, only to find that Allah opens several doors instead. This is why believers never lose hope. They know that Allah's generosity is greater than their imagination, and His mercy is greater than their fears. The journey of dua teaches us that faith is not about seeing every step before taking it. Faith is about trusting Allah enough to take the step anyway. It is about believing that even when the path seems unclear, Allah is guiding us. It is about understanding that every prayer is heard, every tear is noticed, And every moment of patience has value in the sight of Allah. As you continue making dua, remember that Allah knows exactly what you need. He knows the desires hidden within your heart. He knows the struggles you never speak about. He knows the dreams you carry and the fears that keep you awake at night. Nothing is hidden from Him. Keep turning to Him with sincerity. Keep asking with hope and keep believing in His mercy. If this reminder benefited you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this message with your family and friends so more people can be inspired and reminded to keep making dua and trusting in Allah's perfect plan.